Welcome back to the Moon Temple Mystery School podcast. Today I'm going to be talking to you about witchcraft to do in September. This is a pivotal month where we start to feel the shift in the air and we're leading up to the underworld descent. We're preparing for winter. We are harvesting. We are really often even seeing something new come into our lives. It's like the great wheel of time is turning, and as it's turning, it's dropping little nuggets of wisdom and opportunities in your lap. And we see this because a lot of students are returning to school in September. It has been ingrained in us for a long time to see and feel this energy of the fall as change. So what I'm going to do today is tell you a few things that you should know about September. We're going to talk about the two moons that are coming up, the full moon and the new moon. And then I'm going to give you a really powerful experience to look at a piece of mythology from 3 different perspectives. And then I'm going to give you some prompts for you to journal on or to use in your magic to find yourself in the story. Because when you find yourself in mythology, then you know what type of magic will best support you at the time. So hello and welcome. If you don't know me yet, my name is Tahverlee. I'm a high priestess, practicing witch, author, and founder of the Moon Temple Mystery School. And it is my distinct pleasure to continue to come on here and provide you with great information. Hopefully it's great for you to help you move with the cycles of what's happening both energetically on our planet and in the seasons. And I started in August by giving you an overview of what magic to do in August, and now I'm doing it again in September. And so if you like this, make sure you drop a comment and tell me you want more monthly recipe cards like this that will support you on your path. And you don't have to be a practicing witch to do this. You might just be a human going about your life and you want to experience things a little bit more magical. Because I promise you there's a lot more interest in magic in the months of September and October than any other time of the year. So this will support you. What we're going to talk about today will support you no matter where and how you identify yourself in your practice. Okay, so let's start with remembering that there are new things, new beginnings that come in September. September is actually a month of water on the elemental wheel of life. It sits to the west. It's between the summer and the winter, and it's when we start to see equality between the sun and the darkness of night come into place. And of course, we do have the fall equinox in the month of September. And if you want to do magic with me for the fall equinox, I'm hosting a free event, totally free event, September 15th and 16th. I'll drop the link in the description. You can join. And it is how to step into your sacred power. So that's what we're going to be focusing on for the solstice or for the equinox. So I won't talk about that here because I'm going to be teaching it to you for free. So you can register, and if you miss the class, you'll get the recordings. And there's no obligation. You can just register and show up, and I'll give you the magic. So I'm not going to be talking about that here because I'll be doing it in the class. But when we see it as a turning of the wheel, and we're moving into the element of water, we're also really on the cusp of starting this slower descent into the winter, but we're not there yet. It's a little bit of a liminal space. I mean, there's a lot of liminal months throughout the year. They're not big, great big months of change. They are slow cycles. So this is a slow slide into the underworld, a slow slide. And as we're sliding down into a slower, darker time, we're picking up things along the way, which is why we harvest in September. We're grabbing all the nuggets of everything that we've planted, and we might just pause long enough on this slow descent into the winter to plant some of those seeds for next year or for the next cycle. And the trees change in September. We change in this month. We change. We usually change what we wear. We change how we feel. You know, the long, hot days of summer are behind us. A lot of us like the feeling of, depending on where you live, of course, if you get cool, more crisp air, we like it. It feels good. It feels refreshing. And so one of the things that you can do in September is to really pay attention to what is being locally harvested in your area, whether that's apples or different vegetables, or, you've planted pumpkins and you're watching them grow, or squash. Working with what is harvesting in the area that you reside is a really powerful way to start to just feel into how different that feels in September as opposed to like June when you're harvesting strawberries. It's a different energetic feeling, and working with that is powerful. September is also a really interesting time for shapeshifters to become more present in our field. So if you do a lot of spirit communication, or if you do a lot of dream time movement, you're going to find that the visions or the experiences you have start to look a little bit different. And that's because even our spirit guides will shapeshift. Spirits will shapeshift in September because they are also changing with the energy, or we're changing because we're preparing for the slower season. And because of our change, then the spirits we communicate with will have these subtle changes too. Sometimes big, but sometimes subtle changes. So I like to think of it as it's the awakening of the shapeshifters. We have a full moon on the 7th, and we have a new moon on the 21st, which is, of course, the equinox. I'm thinking about what's really powerful for the full moon. I am going to recommend that the full moon on the 7th is really good to make moon water. And I don't usually recommend that. If you know me, I use a lot of moon water, but I don't talk about it a lot because there's deeper, more important things, usually for me, from my perspective, to give you, to teach you, to share with you, than just making moon water. But because it's the water season and it is a transformational month, I do recommend making moon water on the full moon in September of 2025. And you can then use that moon water to create a spritzer, add some drops into your bath. You could make holy water from it. And when I get to kind of some of the rituals and spells I'm going to recommend you do in September, some of them will have key ingredients of water, and you can use the moon water. And if you've never made moon water before, use distilled water, put it in a glass or a clear container with a lid, leave it out under the full moon overnight, and then bring it in and put it in your fridge. And then you can use it in anything. You can put a drop in your tea. You can use it for anything. So let's talk about the things that are good to do in witchcraft in the month of September. Number one, reset all your altars. The season is changing. The season is transforming, and we're transforming. So let your space reflect the change of this season. So resetting your altars, clearing clutter from the summer, putting, summer things away, getting ready, like feeling yourself getting ready for this change, this movement, for the slower time of the year that's coming. It's also a really good time to do remedies, tinctures, salves, body butters, all the things that you've heard me talk about that I make. This is a really good time to do it. So think of it like kitchen witchery is really good in September, because we're not in the October descent deep into the dark season yet, and we're not in the height of the summer. And because it's a water month and we're feeling this harvesting energy, it's a really good time to create things that you're going to use through the winter, like we would have in hundreds of years ago when we were foraging on our own lands and drying berries and gathering all the food that we could to dry and store for the winter season. When you do kitchen magic with salves or tinctures or different tea blends, or maybe you're drying your own plant allies and herbs to use in teas for the winter, all of this kitchen crafting, this witchcrafting in the kitchen, is really powerful in September. So I highly recommend that. So in short, clear and reset your altars. Clear and reset all the summer stuff out of your home and space. Do whatever type of kitchen witchcraft that you like to do, what calls to you, what supplies you have, or try something new if you haven't done that before. And then number 4, I want you to think about how you want to work with your ancestors this winter. Winter is a really great time to bring in the ancestors, but now is a good time to start thinking about it. Start planning it, start doing research, make a family tree. Maybe you even start setting up an ancestral altar that will be with you from September to December, from this like quarter of, the fall equinox to the winter solstice. Let that be the time that you're communicating with your ancestors, which is really powerful to start now. Thinking about it, processing it, researching it, gathering family photos, maybe an old family watch. That's the power of beginning to work with your ancestors. Now, okay, so I want to just remind you, I'm not going to talk about equinox magic because I'm going to do it in a class, but it's hard for me to not talk about it because it is a key component in September, but I will go deeper. So let's do this. I'm going to move into the story that I want to share with you. And if you don't know the mythology of Persephone and Demeter, then I do recommend you go maybe do a little bit more deeper research into this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you 3 perspectives. So in summary, the mythology is that Persephone is Demeter's daughter, and she ate the forbidden pomegranate seeds, and she was sucked into the underworld and was forced to marry Hades and became the queen of the underworld, and Demeter went on a tear. And because she didn't have her daughter, she decided that everything on the planet was going to die, which became the fall. Until Persephone returned in the spring after she had negotiated with Zeus that she wants to see her mom 6 months of the year, so she would come out of the underworld and be with Demeter, her mother, in the summer, which is why everything's alive. And then in the fall, she goes back to the underworld. Now, that's just one variation of the story. I've talked about this mythology in many different capacities and many different classes because there's also a part of that story, the way that I just told you that mythology, that assumes that a good girl wouldn't choose the bad boy. And what if Persephone chose to go into the underworld and be the queen of darkness alongside Hades? It's possible. So without me going into, because I really want to go into all these different stories of the way you can perceive this mythology, do your research. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 different perspectives: Persephone, Demeter, and Hades, of what happens in the fall when Persephone returns to the underworld. And then I'm going to ask you some questions for you to see yourself in the story, and let this be the final piece of magic that you do in September. You can journal on this. You can find out, where you should focus your magic depending on where you find yourself. What shadows are revealed, what strengths are revealed, what do you let dying in the summer, what are you embracing in the dark? So I'm going to read to you these 3 stories, and all you need to do right now is just listen. We're going to start with Persephone. Each year, as the shadows lengthen and the leaves begin to fall, I feel the pull of the underworld stirring within me. The part of my heart bound to Hades begins to whisper, reminding me of the quiet power that awaits for me there beneath the earth. Though I treasure sunlight, the touch of green fields, and my mother's laughter drifting through endless summer afternoons, the darkness calls me home with equal sweetness. As I descend the steps into shadow, I let go of sunlight, surrendering again to my hidden kingdom, to my husband's embrace, and the wisdom of the dark. Here in the cool quiet beneath the soil, I become the queen. I become the queen I was destined to be, strong, mysterious, and afraid, and unafraid. Yet even as I sink into my shadow throne, a soft sadness whispers through me for what I've left behind. The separation from my mother's warmth leaves a hollow ache in my chest. I know she grieves. I know the world above begins to wither in my absence. But my heart was made to dwell in 2 worlds. I choose to hold both darkness and light within me, carrying the love of the sun, even as I rest queenly within darkness. That is Persephone's perspective. You can take a few moments to see where you might have felt yourself in that story and return to it if you desire. Now let's hear from Demeter. When Persephone leaves, My heart fractures like dried earth. I stand alone in the fields, helplessly watching as the green fades, flowers wilt, and the gentle warmth of life retreats from my grasp. My daughter's laughter, the sound that once fed the very roots of trees, is replaced with a silence so deep it swallows me whole. Without her, I am winter incarnate, cold, barren, numb. My sorrow is an unstoppable tide, washing away the bright beauty we had shared. And yet, in the silence and stillness, I hear the whisper of wisdom. For without this darkness, the cycles of life cannot unfold. Deep within my grief, I also feel a flicker of understanding. My daughter is no longer a child, but a queen whose power spans both worlds. I've watched her return stronger each year, holding secrets from beneath the earth, filled with grace that only shadows can teach. And so, even as I mourn her absence, I feel pride rise alongside the sorrow. Until she returns, I wait, holding vigil for the rebirth that always follows the dark. I hope you like these perspectives that I have written for you. So maybe you would have found yourself in Demeter, in her expression, in her understanding of what's happening around her, in her grief. Or maybe you will relate to the power of Hades. So let's hear from Hades. When Persephone descends, the underworld awakens, coming alive in her presence. The corridors of my palace shimmer with new warmth, a subtle glow only she can bring. Her return fills the halls with whispers of renewal, each step she takes turning shadows into something richer, more profound. I know the world above grieves her absence, yet down here in this hidden realm, she is the brightest flame, the core of all mystery, the queen of shadows, the heart of my kingdom. She walks towards me, embracing the darkness like an old friend, and I marvel each time at her ability to hold both worlds within her heart. Yet even as I welcome her home, I sense the bitterness threads woven into our reunion. She brings with her the scent of sunlight, a gentle reminder of all she leaves behind. And though her choice to return fills me with gratitude, I cannot help but feel a faint pang of sadness. The worlds she straddles tug at my heart, and I see the quiet longing behind her eyes. My joy in her return is tempered by this truth. Our love, like all great loves, is rooted in both the sweetness and reunion and in the inevitable of letting go. So out of these three stories, you can ask yourself these questions, these three different versions of the same mythology. When you feel yourself pulled towards solitude or darkness, do you embrace it willingly, like Persephone? Or do you resist the descent, holding tightly to sunlight and familiarity? Number 2, are you currently experiencing a loss or transition, like Demeter, that leaves you feeling empty or grieving? If so, what wisdom or growth might this grief be teaching you? Number 3, like Hades, have you welcomed something or someone into your life that has awakened you to new depths, yet carries the bittersweet knowledge that it may not stay forever? How do you hold space for that love, knowing of its impermanence? If you related closer to Persephone's perspective, you can ask yourself, now that you have recognized your relationship with darkness or solitude, reflect on the specific gifts you've received during these times. What part of your true self has been revealed to you, and how can you integrate it? If you more relate to Demeter, Do you acknowledge the grief and loss that you're experiencing? And have you explored what deeper wisdom or clarity comes from knowing of this loss? Or if you relate closer to Hades, reflect on love and connection that you've recognized that might be bittersweet or have polarity within the relationship. So September magic is full. So we've covered the energy of this month, a few things to do with the full moon, and we've talked about the different rituals that you can do and how you can embrace the magic of the season. And then focusing on this story from three different perspectives will give you some insight on what tarot or oracle reading to do for yourself, what magic to do that will support you. And don't forget to join me for Stepping Into Your Sacred Power on September 15th and 16th. The link is in the description. And don't forget to tell me if you want me to keep doing these monthly magic overviews. Bye for now.